Welcome to The Difference. I'm Steve Castile, and today we have a conversation with David McMillan, the current Executive Director of Methodist Rehabilitation. Listen in.
You are listening to The Difference, a presentation from The Hour, a 54-year ministry. Steve, first we started on radio, then went to television, then we went streaming online. So at Our Stream, you can watch our programming from all those years. So it's at thehour.org. And now, here we are. Steve, it's great to be here talking again on The Difference. Are you different?
Yes, definitely.
That's
I'm
what
different
I thought.
in so many ways. You know, one of the cool things is we both know different people, and sometimes we do interviews on our own. And during annual conference, I took the opportunity to do several conversations with some difference. And one of them,
While I was just goofing off.
while you were just
Yeah,
running the cameras and goofing off and eating the great food at annual
for the last time. Go ahead. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Methodist Rehab has been a place that has just always been a favorite of mine since I became aware of it. When I was at St. Matthew's, one of our members was in a terrible car wreck in South Carolina. Traumatic brain injury. When I got up there to be with the family, the neurologist just told us there was no hope. And the family was devastated. The long and the short of it was he survived, and we medevaced him back here, and he was taken at Methodist Rehabilitation. And one of my high moments of life was when Justin came down the aisle in his wheelchair to receive communion. And during his time there, I got an opportunity to be up at the facility, to be with the family. It's a remarkable nonprofit, which makes it really unique. And they take cases from all around the world. They take people with insurance, without insurance. They're about to celebrate their 50th anniversary. And so David agreed to have this conversation. So I can't wait for you to listen in and hear his path to his position and then some of the things they're doing.
Let's listen.
Let's listen. Welcome back. Today, we're really blessed to have David McMillan, who is the new Chief Executive Officer at Methodist Rehabilitation Center. David is new, and so it's so exciting to come and see his vision and his mission as he comes into this incredible ministry. So, David, thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
When I called you about this interview, I had no idea that there was a new director out there. I've had an ongoing relationship with Methodist Rehab since I was pastor at St. Matthew's, and one of our members' lives were transformed by the work you did with their son. And so I became a great advocate. So it tickled me pink to be able to spend some time with you and talk about what is now becoming y'all's 50th anniversary.
Absolutely.
So welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey to this position.
I'm a native of Tippah County. That's in the northern tip of the state. I'm a lifelong Methodist. I grew up in Campground Methodist Church on the New Albany district. Campground was established in 1848.
Oh, wow.
So it goes back a long ways. But from there, it's close to the Walnut, Mississippi area. That's where my home is, where I'm from, and still consider it home. My wife and I met at Ole Miss back in the early 80s. We got married in 84. We just celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary this past December.
Oh, wow.
She's from Baton Rouge, but she has Mississippi roots, so she thinks Mississippi is home like she is.
That's right. Louisiana is just Mississippi West.
That's well put.
So tell me how you ended up as the Chief Executive Officer here. What was the pathway that brought you there?
It was unexpected. We had moved around the country. I had taken a job in corporate America right out of college. And we had moved to the East Coast and Midwest. We moved here from Indiana. And shortly after we moved here, my wife, Lynn, introduced me to a couple I'd never met before, and that was Earl and Martha Wilson. And he was bigger than life. Banker, oil man, lawyer. And we talked that evening at a gathering. He said, let's have lunch sometime soon. And I said, sure. Well, he called, and so I'd pick you up at about 11:30. He did, and I got in the car, and I didn't know where we were going. And as he drove, he talked, and I listened more. We got to the hospital, and I'm going, this is different. And
Did you have to have reservations?
no, I didn't know. He said, David, we're going to have lunch on the second floor. You'll sit next to me. Okay. I walk into a room. I see 15, 20 people. Don't recognize a soul. I sit next to Earl, who was chairman of the board of trustees at the time, which I didn't know either. And he said, guys and gals, this is David McMillan. He is our newest board member at Methodist Rehab Center. And I kind of went, really?
We were just talking about being voluntold. That's
Yes. And Earl didn't take no for an answer. People who knew Earl got his way when he wanted to the right way. And he and three of the men had a vision for this place. So this is a God journey. I mean, this is something who could plan. But I enjoyed my career before, but now I've transitioned to a purpose. Because what I see every day and every week, I tell people, if you don't believe in God, spend a week with me.
right.
Because the Holy Spirit healing power is unlimited.
Well, it's funny how we connected because my son has a booth at the farmer's market, and your wife came through, and we were just talking, and she just said, you need to meet my husband. He's the new. And so when we connected, I was so excited to hear your passion for this ministry. And I kind of want that to be the next thing. You accepted the position. What makes this hospital so unique is it really is a ministry.
It's a ministry. It's technically we're known as a post-acute care. We don't save people's lives. We don't do heart surgery, deliver babies. We help them regain what they may have lost. Now, our primary focus is stroke survivors, spinal cord injuries, and traumatic brain. A lot of debilities out there, car wrecks, etc. We get people who've been broken, and we help put them back together. Now, one thing that we work for is not only physical rehabilitation, but mental and spiritual. I mean, we're a religious-based institution, and we live it. Our culture truly is servant leadership.
Well, what impressed me, and I don't know what has changed, is it's not only spiritually centered, but it's very family centered. There's not this sense of isolation, even though there are periods when patients get adjusted just like anything. But watching the interaction of the staff, watching the interaction with the families, not only are the patients affected, they are deeply, because most of them have come through catastrophic experiences that have left them all very disoriented.
It is. When people come in, they are afraid. They're unfiltered. A lot of times they've been gone from home 2 or 3 months.
Right.
All in acute care facilities. The first week we spend time basically regaining their strength, calming them down, making sure they understand what the routine is. Because they go through occupational therapy, physical therapy, respiratory therapy, and speech therapy. They get to do 3 hours a day. It doesn't sound like much, but if you're weakened, it's a lot. Now, one thing we've expanded through the conference, and this goes back to Bishop Lewis Logan, is we have a chaplain now. Now, you're very familiar with her, Reverend Maxine Bolden.
I do. Maxine and I were talking this morning.
And she has come in after COVID and has revitalized our chaplain program. We have 80 beds at the hospital, but people don't know about we have a 60-bed facility in Flowood that services the people who really can't take care of themselves. They're all quadriplegics. So Maxine not only works with the actual patients, she also ministers to our staff, because healthcare workers are mentally and physically and spiritually drained because they give themselves for others.
Exactly. Well, one of the reasons that I wanted to have this conversation is with the political kind of lay of the land, with the uncertain status of a lot of federal money and federal insurance. Y'all have been so good to have people there that probably would not be able to manage that level of care. And so one of the things we want people to know is that this ministry, God has blessed it, but it's got to be sustainable. And so if somebody's listening to this podcast, uh, tell us a little bit about what they can do and what are some of the steps you're taking to kind of make your way through this season.
Well, one thing that we have that no other rehab hospital in the South has, we have our own research and innovation. Now, that's supported by the Wilson Foundation. I mean, that's a separate hospital operation. And basically, we have a staff on site. We have a couple of scientists. They work for ways to help patients, but more importantly, help therapists find ways to help patients. It could be something as digital movement with fingers. It could be walking gait. It could be balance. There's so many things that people don't realize you've lost until it's gone.
Yeah.
And we take the time to invest with people, especially the young people. A lot of accidents on ATVs, deer hunters come every year. Things people happen every day. It just doesn't matter unless it happens to you or somebody you love.
Exactly. And I think, the family I was talking about when we were at St. Matthews, he was in a terrible car wreck. The hospital he was in gave him very little chance of survival. The church heroically stepped up and said, we'll medevac him back if they'll take him. And when y'all received him, the family was just overwhelmed. And one of my highlight moments is when Justin came down the aisle in his wheelchair to receive his first communion.
How about that?
And there were tears everywhere. And when he stuck those hands out, it was just one of those God moments where, like you said, until it's your child, until it's your family, until it's your friend, you just don't understand how catastrophic a stroke or that kind of traumatic injury can be.
I mean, like personally, back in 2005, my dad had a huge stroke. And he took only a few steps in about 18 months. And it was catastrophic. I didn't understand what it does physically, but I found out what it does to a family. And it's called chaos because you're trying to find out what's going to happen next.
It is. I mean, my wife's mother went through the same thing, and because of the treatment process, she was impeded for the rest of her life if she'd have received the right treatment. And so you guys do nothing short of miracles. And so when a family comes there, and as you said, they go through that beginning process, evaluation, orientation, trying to figure out what treatment plan is, then what happens after that?
It's a balance of medication, nourishment, the therapy, and it's very repetitive. And really, therapy is 3 hours a day. The other 21 hours, the patient care team takes over, and they are ministering to their physical, mental, spiritual needs. There's nothing uncommon for me to walk down a hallway and hear somebody on the team singing a spiritual hymn. So a lot of the encouragement, sometimes the best medicine I've heard are words of encouragement.
Right.
Especially if someone who's come to the hospital by themselves. That's a struggle.
And the isolation that so many times when you're in a traumatic care unit of a regular hospital, human interaction, because of the lack of staff, because of the lack of resources, just really is not compatible with the right kind of recovery.
No, if you lose that want to, if you lose that soul drive, you've kind of lost the battle.
Yeah.
The word I can means a lot to us. It's kind of, in our hallway, we have posters down each side of the hall, and it's now I can.
Yeah. And I think the other side of that, the realistic side that I really appreciated with the treatment that my friend received was you do reach a point where you found capacity, you found ability, and allowing a family and a patient to live within those parameters is no small challenge.
It's not. Our chairman of the board is a phenomenal man named Sam Lane. Sam's son, Samuel, was a student at the University of Georgia. He was hit by a drunk driver. And by the time he got to MRC, Samuel was there 60 days. And Sam spent 60 consecutive nights there. So Sam Lane is a leading fundraiser for us. He's our chairman of the board. He understands the mission since he's lived it.
Right. And I do want to circle back. Again, one of the reasons we do the Difference podcast is everybody has a call, we believe. Everybody has a gift. Everybody has a story. Everybody is searching for a way to make a difference.
Right.
And so if if you were to say, well, you never heard of the Methodist rehab before, what could I do? I don't have a lot of money. What are some things that church members, community members could do to come alongside of y'all as you carry out your ministry?
That's a great question. One thing we brought back after COVID was our volunteer program, which is managed by Bobby Cumberland, who's also a Galloway member. And we have right now 16 to 18 people who volunteer. Now, that's relationship with the patients, but it saves our staff thousands of steps each day. And they're there doing work, unpaid, and they're part of the mission. And they go out in the community and they're advocates. They talk about us, they share stories about us, and they refer patients to us. So the volunteer program to me is better than money.
What an incredible opportunity. Now, if a church is interested in finding about, do y'all do site visits? Or how could a church find more out about the ministry that's happening there?
I would say contact Reverend Maxine Bolden. She's there Monday through Friday. She even has a church service she puts on Sunday afternoon. Now, there may be 3 people one day and 35 the next, but she's kind of the spiritual leader of the church, and she's a great contact for people because she's very familiar. She's had all experience at the VA, ICU work, at UMMC. I mean, she's a healthcare veteran.
And one of the most spiritual people I know.
Amen.
She is just an incredible person. It'd be worth the trip to get to know Maxine. I'll tell you, she is that delightful. Now, what about, there are people that are listening that probably are I don't know how does alumni
Right.
that have gone through that maybe have become disconnected. How can they reconnect? If they want to give financially, how could they do that? Are there opportunities there for them to support in other ways?
You can go to our website. It's methodistonline.org. Again, that's methodistonline.org, or social media is at Methodist Rehab. There are great patient recovery stories, but there's also ways to point you into contribution areas for our foundation. Again, we treat people the same.
Yeah.
The founders wanted us to treat you, if you had private insurance or no insurance, we don't care.
Right.
And they wanted us to stand in the gap to be the connection between people who have and have not. So people can give toward those programs and give toward research. Right now, we're in an age of expansion. Since last annual conference, we've opened a new outpatient clinic in Clinton. That's our 4th.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
We're at Gluckstadt, we're in Ridgeland, we're in Flowood, and we're in Clinton. And this coming month, we're in June right now, we'll open our 10th orthotic and prosthetic clinic.
Wow.
We've got 9 in Mississippi and 1 in Monroe, Louisiana.
And I just want to stop you there. I had an uncle who was a veteran who had lost his leg and part of an arm and lived most of his life with a prosthetic. And to understand the evolution of prosthetics, to understand the quality of life change with prosthetics is just absolutely amazing.
It's advancing forward. The technology, they have microchips that the knee joint can help move and generate. We had a gentleman who had a horrible accident. He was an LSU football player from around the Monroe area, 6'7", played offensive tackle. Hunting accident down around Raymond. His retriever jumped up in the back of his ATV, and somehow the paw of the dog went into the trigger guard, and it discharged the shotgun. And it took his leg off about as high as you could imagine. After 12 operations later, he wakes up at Methodist Rehab Center. So here's this giant man weighing 270 who's having to learn to walk with one leg. Well, he came last year in September, we have National Rehabilitation Week. I went to see him in Monroe. He's written a book. And he's now running marathons with forearm crutches in one leg. He looks like an Olympic athlete. He's down to about 185, no body fat. But it's the power of the mental, the spiritual drive to overcome tragedy.
I mean, what more miraculous gift can you give somebody than the ability to have a new normal?
Exactly.
And a way where you can feel great about yourself?
And those stories they're just never ending.
Well, one of the things we hope to do is have a visit there and to be able to talk to some of your staff. And then we would love to have some of those people share stories. You said you had some of them.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to post those later. And if you will, text me his book, and we'd love to kind of highlight that.
I'll do that.
Folks look for good reading. There's nothing better than a real life story that talks about life in an encouraging, inspirational way.
It is. The power to overcome is almost like how MRC was started.
Right.
Because in 1967, these 4 men went to United Methodist Church with a vision. And now the vision lives.
Well, for me, when I first came acquainted, the image that is coming back, this is a different kind of resurrection, a different kind of returning to life out of what seems like death.
Well put. Because people sometimes lose hope.
They do.
And you don't know how it's going to end.
Right.
But people so often, one thing that we celebrate with each person discharged is ringing the bell. When they finish that last day of therapy, they ring the bell to signify accomplishment, and I'm going home.
That's incredible. Well, is there any last thing you'd like to say to the listeners before we end our podcast?
If you want to know more, feel free to give me a call. I enjoy speaking to churches, any kind of groups. We cannot get our message out there enough. We're located on the campus of the University of Mississippi Medical Center. Dr. Woodward and her staff are great supporters of ours. I mean, think about it. They're Mississippi's only level 1 trauma center.
Right.
The helicopters go all the time. So we're a great partnership with them. We are always looking to improve in what we do and looking for new ideas and people to help.
Well, as a United Methodist, it gives me great pride to know that a Wesleyan concept of doing good in the midst of need is always in our veins. And so thank you for your leadership, and thank you for keeping the vision alive. And, we just hope that God will continue to use that ministry, not only to touch lives, but to take emerging technology and be able to help people in ways we could never imagine.
Well said.
Well, it's so nice to officially meet you, and thank you for taking time to do this. And for those of you who are listening, he's headed on his way to annual conference session to share a little bit about Methodist. So y'all pray for him now. Thanks again, David.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Wonderful.
Wow, Steve. I've had only a couple of interactions with David, but I was really impressed not only with him and not only about this interview, but I was impressed when I first met him and did a video with him with the bishop. I was impressed at the mission of the whole organization.
Exactly, and that's what it is, a mission. And they have just in so many ways, the thing that struck me that I wasn't aware of is they have a research center there, where they're constantly looking at re-engineering prosthetics, where they're looking at brain engineering. And so it's not just the rehabilitation part. It's moving into new frontiers to help people find their way back. And so, you can be different in a lot of ways. His pathway of kind of being voluntold into the position was just a funny way of how God leads us to where we need to be, sometimes whether we're ready or not. And so it was a great time together, and I look forward to us revisiting there, to going out to the facility and having another conversation. The chaplain there is a good friend of mine, and so we're going to have an interview with her later, but we'll do that then.
I'm just impressed that you were able to hit record and get it all recorded. That's
good.
Yeah.
Okay. You just prompted me. In the midst of this, those of you who are listening, I'd just been bragging to Anthony about what a technological whiz I was, being able to do the podcast by myself. So the first one I did, which we'll have to redo again, I was looking to see at my timestamp, and I had not pressed record. So being a person...
How many minutes were you into it?
I was in about 23 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And so I just looked. Luckily, I knew the person. I just said, look, I'm so sorry. We're going to have to do this again, because she had an appointment on before we could redo it again. And she was very gracious and laughed, and I'm sure that story's been told. But the bad part was making the walk of shame back over to you to tell you that I had messed up, and you took no small pleasure in
I was
laughing,
gracious and benevolent.
But you also were benevolent in confessing your own technical fiascos. So anyway, those of you who are listening now know we're both human.
Oh, wow.
Regardless
Yes.
of your opinion.
Yes.
Not only do we have faces for radio, but I have a brain that is sometimes questionable.
Well, I'm just happy we've recorded this and able to share this conversation with David, with everyone.
Exactly. Well, we thank you guys for listening in. Hope you'll tune in with our next podcast. And as always, hey, remember, live loved.
You've been listening to The Difference, a presentation of The Hour. The Difference is made in conjunction with and partnership with the Institute for Southern Storytelling at Mississippi College. To find out more about the Institute and ways that we are partnering and mentoring young lives through storytelling, filmmaking, and more, visit us at southernstorytelling.mc.edu. And for more resources from The Hour and from The Difference, check us out at our Hour Stream platform with the streaming content at thehour.org. I'm Anthony Thaxton. Thanks for joining.